Mistakes that men make on first and second dates. Don't worry, men. I'm going to do both, men and women, because you know what? We all make mistakes, but we make different types of mistakes. So I'm going to go over the men here and give you some tips and tools to use moving forward. It's things that you can try to have more success on a date. Men tend to try to over-impress. And this is a general statement. It doesn't mean it applies to everybody. But what I mean by that is they talk about themselves and their accomplishments a lot. And I get it, because society has, sort of raised us to believe that men need to be, doers and achievers. And if you find a man that is a doer and achiever, then you've hit the jackpot, right? Well, not necessarily. So it's important, if you are maybe guilty of doing this a little bit too much, and it may be nerves, it may be, whatever. I'm going to give you some other things to try to make the date more beneficial and more successful. Next thing that men try to do, they try to get too physical too quickly. And, I get it. I do. But a lot of women don't want a man to touch her until she has a little bit of trust, at least. So if you get grabby and you get, ahead of yourself with that, sit down and mind your manners and try something different. Men and women are different for reasons, and what you think it may be a good idea may not be such a good idea in reality. So, and the next thing that men do is they don't ask or don't pay attention when a woman speaks. Like, you're not asking the right questions, or you're not listening. And trust me when I say women's intuition is usually spot on. And they can tell if you're listening or not. They can, most of the time. Okay, so a couple things to try. Instead of, if you feel like you want some sort of physical touch or something, and I understand that physical touch is important and it tells a lot. Try this. In your free time, when you have a little bit of free time, it doesn't take long, go and look up palm reading. Learn a little bit about palm reading. Basics, the basic stuff. And ask her if you can read her palms for her. She will then give you her hand, more than likely. Make sure that you don't read anything that's negative, but keep it positive. And it doesn't have to be really in-depth. It's a moment where you will have some physical touch, so you can kind of gauge how that touch makes you feel. And she doesn't feel like you are, groping. So try that. And then there's the hypothetical questions. These are amazing when you're getting to know somebody, because if you ask the right type of hypothetical question, you can get a whole host of information about somebody, and it's not overly invasive to someone. So if you're on a date with a woman and, you're kind of talking and you're tired of going through the whole, usual, 50 questions that everybody asks on a first date, which avoid those, because there's other ways to get the information that you want without making someone feel that they're on a job interview. Ask her something, if you could have dinner with any fictional character, who would it be and why? Ask her something like that. Something that makes her think. And you can get a lot of information from her answer without being invasive and pushy. So, try to avoid the too much talking about yourself, even though you want to announce all of your achievements. Let her get to know you. And don't go overboard with those, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Okay, cool. Doesn't make you, bad if you're doing that. I understand why you would want to do that, because you're selling yourself. I mean, that's what it is. The first, second date, you are trying to sell the goods, right? But don't be so pushy about it. And if you ask her a question, don't ask, overly personal questions. And use the hypotheticals because they will tell you a lot about somebody without having to ask really direct, invasive questions. So try it out and good luck.